just appreciate everybody.
Watch him throw the ball. We gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of Trap or Dive podcast, provided to you by 214 Media. I'm your host. And the official podcast of the Hogs Haven Network. I'm your host, Mual, Hen Dog Mual, Coach Mual, all that good stuff. And in here with the fellas, Dre, AJ, fellas. How y'all doing, man? Y'all good, bro?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Great, man. I want to know how AJ doing, man. He looks slick as shit, man. Where you coming from? Or you got somewhere to go tonight?
He got the Zara fit on, bro.
Just my little
Zara top
errands earlier today.
Oh shit, but the same, man, clean.
Yeah, man. Hey, how y'all weekend go though, bro? How the weekend treat y'all? It was chill.
Hey, I mean, look, I said the same thing to my son. Why couldn't we have the weather that we had today all weekend? Like it rained on Friday, cold Saturday. I mean, it was nice yesterday, but come on, give me a whole weekend of this. It would have been much better if every day was like today.
Somebody said we get in. I'm checking the weather app. So I heard 85. No, they were
probably gonna be
84.
Day like Wednesday.
It don't matter. Yep, Wednesday 80, Thursday 84, Friday 84. Weekend ain't too bad.
How the weekend looking?
77 on Saturday, 50% chance of rain, but 80 on Sunday.
I mean 100%.
Yeah, right, man. We need to get to the back to the point where we're at 75 consistently, bro. Like,
please.
Tomorrow's looking good. Tomorrow's looking good. AJ, what about you, bro? How your weekend treat you, bro? Oh, AJ, if you talking, you on me. What's going on, Al? Too? What's going on, Monty? I see y'all in the chat as well.
I was trying to get rid of the senior citizen background. That's what was going on just now. But I mean, the weekend was cool, man. Didn't do anything. It's crazy because I asked my brother. I had tweeted it, but I asked my brother like, "Hey, you plan on going to church on Sunday?" And he was like, "Nah." He's like, Easter Sunday is like the Super Bowl of Christianity.
It is.
And like my brother don't tell jokes, dog. That shit was hilarious.
I'm about to say is this the same one that was cracking jokes?
Yep. So I was like, what the hell? But I mean, I ain't do nothing, man. Like, I mean, y'all know, man, it's a pretty tough time for me. I don't have my mom around anymore, so I ain't had no Easter dinner. I ain't even meet anybody yesterday. I just really been chilling, man. Just watch some TV, some Love Is Blind.
Hey, bro,
still watching that? He on it.
Yeah, I started watching after AJ brought it up, bro.
It's good. It's entertaining because it's like for me, I'm still single, but I be outside in these streets. But at some point, you know, want to settle down and things. I think it's interesting to see how people date. Like that perspective is just like it's very informative. Like you could see bits and pieces of yourself, and then you can also see like things not to do. Like for those that watch the show, a lot of people are complaining about the Hispanic girl Jacqueline and Marshall. And a lot of people blaming her for why their relationship ain't going right. But I'm looking at the dude Marshall like, damn, my boy, you press. Like, you forcing somebody to try to be with you? Like, so you hella press.
I felt it's crazy that you brought up Jack. So I'm a little like, I don't be checking the social media yet. Like, I know they be talking about it. But to your point, I was thinking about Jacqueline too. And I'm like, Jacqueline cold in the sense that like, she ain't necessarily... She's not good at expressing everything that's going on in her head, and she's like, she got that effort attitude. Like,
she
if
not
it ain't
used
working,
to
effort.
Yeah, she not used to being with a solid person, like someone that actually shows they care. Like her energy of how she receives love is toxic.
Yeah, so like when she met Marshall, I get it. Like, but I think if you look at it from her perspective, she's just in a spot where she's okay with moving on if something don't work out. Like in her head, that's how she's approaching it. So it's like, I'm mad at Jacqueline for how she handled it, but it's like, I think people don't understand. Like, she's also somewhat doing this in a healthy way for her.
Nah, people understand it because it's so many women that self-sabotage situations, bro.
Yeah, true.
But they don't never get to see it on TV. They don't never get to see it.
He thought that she was getting her fit for the wedding, bro. For the wedding.
She was out on the date with old boy with the cauliflower ears.
That's why nobody likes reality
TV shows is the real world. I ain't watched none of this shit since Real World versus Road Rules. That's
dog. Like I used to watch Real World growing up. Like for me, I never watched cartoons growing up. Like it was either sports or like I was watching Real World. I was watching just real TV, not no cartoons or whatever. Yeah. But it's like Dre, it's like Real World, but strictly focused on the relationship aspect, and like it doesn't come off scripted. I can say that it don't come off.
You can't see the people, right? Is that it? Like
you don't see the people in the beginning. You don't see the people in the beginning. Like you build everything through. They call it pods, and then they end up building this relationship to the point where they feel like, oh, I want to get married to you. Like that's the goal in the pods is to propose. Then when you propose, you finally like get a chance to meet one another, and then it seems like they immediately take them on like some vacation to some island, and then they kick it with each other, and they all get to see who else they've been talking to or whatever. Like you with your boys, so like the men and the women are in their own room where they pretty much know who they are, and the women know who they are and who they're talking to, but nobody's ever seen one another. And then that's when the real life shit kick in, like living with each other in the same city, possibly having to be remote in some instance, or traveling, the different dynamics, meeting family. Like that's when the shit hit the fan. When they get to the real world.
Dre, if you do plan on checking it out, I would start with season 4. Season 4, the wildest one out of all the seasons. Like I ain't never seen this. Yeah, I would start with that one first, and then worry about.
There was another season, dog. I guess
I'm wild, bro. Like they talking about so many different people talking about leaving people for the other people in the show. Like that ain't never happened before, bro.
Nah, there was one joint where it was a black dude and this black girl. Like they matched up with each other. Come to find out, after he already proposed to her or whatever, I think they was hanging out at the pool, if I'm not mistaken. And Buddy told Shorty that he was bisexual. Oh yeah. And she was like, when was you gonna tell me this?
Yeah, I remember that one.
And then he just spazzed on her. He literally like just hit her with the sass. He hit her with the crazy sass. Yeah. Like that
made himself a victim, bro.
I'm gonna have to check this out, see what y'all talking about, man.
Yeah, I was season 4 and then find out what season that one was talking about. That one worth it too, and check it out.
You got hurry up this week because ain't the season finale and the reunion this week.
Yeah, I mean he's gonna be all right. Trey gonna be all right. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and transition to football, man. If you are just checking out Al2 Magic, appreciate y'all checking in. Al2 said I ain't never seen AJ so excited to talk about anything other than shit on our quarterbacks. Apparently now love is blind.
Love is blind when it comes to Sam Howell too. So
we're gonna talk about Sam Howell with Emory Hunt. Emory is about to check in literally a couple seconds. But before we get started, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you are watching on or listening, on Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you listen, and make sure you hit that rating and review. We definitely appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and bring in Emory Hunt right now. Let me go ahead and get things situated. And boom, there we go. So Emory is joining us right now, the owner of Football Game Plan and CBS Sports analyst. He's going to join us to preview the NFL draft, talk a little bit of Commanders talk too, some Sam Howell situations. I wanted to start off with that one, but before we get started, appreciate you joining us, Emory. How you doing, boss man?
I'm doing fine, man. I appreciate you guys having me on the show.
Absolutely. So, like I said, before we get into the 2023 prospects, Sam Howell, man, it's obviously the second-year quarterback. And for Washington, I don't know how closely you've been following their situation, but it's just been a weird situation overall. trying to keep up with their overall approach at the quarterback position in Rivera's tenure. So as of right now, they're currently interested in giving Howell every opportunity to become their quarterback one. For you, as you were preparing for the 2022 draft, Emory, how was your thoughts? What was your thoughts and your evaluation on Sam Howell coming out last year?
To me, Sam Howell was something of what they had already in tow in the kid that just left Heineke. You know, to me, he was someone that kind of reminded me of that, you know, that can make some throws, good athlete, can scramble, make things happen with his legs to buy time. You like the fact that he was fearless. He was a little bit reckless with the football at times at North Carolina. Came into a situation where you can say, you know, he played with equal talent. I'm talking about at the receiver position at North Carolina that he now currently has with Washington, which is why when he stepped in and played, he kind of saw the transition wasn't as steep for him or wasn't as big, which is why they felt confident. Hey, okay, this guy seems to be a little bit more ready to go. You kind of saw some of that in the preseason when he got an opportunity to play. He took some terrible sacks in the preseason, but when you go back and watch him against Dallas and you go and watch him at North Carolina, you can understand why they want to give this guy at least a chance to at least play himself out the position, which is something that a lot of quarterbacks don't really get the time to do.
I think one of the things, fellas, that I don't think we spoke on, maybe since because Rivera had talked after our last show, he had mentioned the game plan, the blueprint that the Eagles outlined with Jalen Hurts, and I don't have the quote or verbatim in front of me, but I know that he tried to outline that blueprint, and my thing is with Jalen himself is like, you know, Sam Howell had one NFL game, right? And Ron Rivera did a good job of explaining, I mean, whether or not you believe it is one thing, right? But he did a good job of explaining why he chose to give Sam Howell this opportunity. A lot had to do with what was going on in practice. A lot had to do with the feedback from his defensive players. And obviously Taylor Heineke himself helped push Ron Rivera over the point of actually giving him the full start against the Dallas Cowboys. But Jalen, in his situation with Philly, he had ample amount of playing time before they made the decision to move on from Carson Wentz. Like he had probably a couple games, if not like 4 or 5, maybe in his rookie season, where they had an opportunity to really give him some exposure and some type of evaluation from the coaches to move on and say, we're going to give him an opportunity. My overall question is, do you what approach do you agree with when it comes to evaluating a fifth round draft pick, and or just even a situation like Washington where you're giving Brissett and Howe that opportunity to fight it out, but you're giving your options, or you're giving you're playing your card out and saying that we want Howe to win it?
That's my whole issue with the quarterback position in general. If you want to, you know, just call it a competition where it's straight up, this guy is better than this guy, and we're going to roll with this guy, then do that. And so that's what the Eagles did. That's the difference. They realized that Carson wasn't as good as Jalen, and they just let him go. They made that decision quickly. They made that decision in that Packers game, and they just rolled with it the rest of the way. And they kind of knew going into that offseason that Jalen's going to be our guy. He led them to the playoffs that year, and then we saw this past season get them to the Super Bowl. Now, Howell is not Jalen Hurts, because if that was the case, he would have won a lot more games at North Carolina. We saw Jalen, you know, get to a championship game. He won one as the backup, but got to another championship game. So he has winning pedigree. And you don't see that in big games from Sam Howell. That's where he has to really grow his game. But if this is a true competition and they get to training camp and they realize Jacoby Brissett is better than Sam Howell, you have to start Jacoby Brissett. You can't just start someone because you kind of want that guy to be the starter. If that's the case, just name him the starter and don't continue with a facade competition, because the players will know. Talent will tell you who needs to start. And we see that at other positions with some coaches. But a lot of times coaches tend to allow the financials and the front office to dictate the starting lineups.
Politics.
Now, yeah, definitely politics. Emory, we appreciate you coming on the show and being with us today. My question that I want to ask you, as someone that has spent a lot of time evaluating the quarterback position, as it's one of the more important positions in all of sports. It seems like the issue that I've been experiencing and seeing with these quarterbacks, especially on the collegiate level lately, is they're not in the best situation to succeed. So when I say that, take a Sam Howell, or even this year with Hendon Hooker, they're playing in non-pro style offenses that have them pretty much doing one read. Like, do you think that's truly hurting their game when they get to the next level? And like, what is your opinion on guys that have to play in those type of systems where, like Sam Howell at UNC was highly focused on RPOs and one read. Hendon Hooker is playing at an up tempo one read system, pretty much off the shotgun. Maybe I'm just saying it out. I'm just gonna call out the number probably 90% of the time. Like, how do you feel about those type of quarterbacks and translating to the next level? And would you, if you were in power, if you were a GM, let's say we gave you the title to be Ozzie Newsome, right? Like, would you feel comfortable mortgaging your future on one of those type of quarterbacks coming from a similar system with a first round pick or even a second?
Well, for me, I look at the quarterback position completely different. So and this is the one element that I feel like I can spot, and a lot of people probably don't have that ability or aren't able to spot it. It's the dog in somebody. So to me, it doesn't matter whether or not you're playing in that catch and throw offense, if you're playing in a triple option offense, if you're playing in a pro style offense, if you're playing in whatever offense. If you are afraid of pressure, you're automatically moving down my list. I need guys that are not afraid of pressure, and that's pressure from the defense, pressure of the moment, pressure of the situation. If you can't handle pressure, then you can't play quarterback as a starter in the NFL. And that's all you're going to see is pressure. One, because the hash marks are closer, so the pressure comes quicker. In college, the wide hash marks, you can easily identify where the physical pressure is coming from. So a lot of these quarterbacks are coming out not being able to handle that physical pressure, especially if you're not playing in the SEC, where you're going to get pressure from certain defenses that love to turn up. Georgia, Alabama, LSU, those type of defensive coaches and schemes tend to turn up the pressure. Kentucky at times, Vanderbilt can even pose a challenge. But when you find getting guys outside of that, you then wonder, okay, well, if they are not able to handle pressure from, the physical pressure, can they handle pressure of the situation? That's third and short, inside the red zone, 4-minute offense, backed up offense. How well can they bring their team back? And you look at all of these traditional things, and you go into history. That's why I had no issue giving a top 5 grade on Patrick Mahomes. You go back and watch the Texas Bowl when they played LSU. LSU came in. All they had to do was they wanted to run the football. They wanted to give Leonard Fournette that opportunity to get 2,000 yards. And then Patrick Mahomes on the opposite side, just scrambling around, doing things that he's currently doing in the NFL, was doing it against this very good LSU defense that had Jalen Mills and company in that secondary. And it was him, and it was a short receiver that ended up Jakeem Grant. Those two guys, the only two guys I saw out there against LSU, was like, man, these dudes not scared. Give me this dude. Give me this quarterback, because he's making play after play, despite his team being not as good as LSU, especially against that defense and running that offense that at the time everyone talked about was, a ridiculous offense. Fast forward to Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma. They're in the playoffs, and this is the point where I saw, Baker's not that guy, was when inside the crunch time part of that playoff game against Georgia, this is your Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. This is your guy. This is the guy that threw up a zillion yards and touchdowns. They took the ball out of his hands against Georgia inside the red zone in overtime and tried to run their way to success. What does that tell you? That tells you they don't trust him with the football in a clutch, crucial situation. You look at Jalen Hurts. I had no problem grading him as my number 2 quarterback behind Burrow in that 2020 class. Why? Because I've seen this dude being battle tested time and time again, to have the humbleness to stay in the spot where you got benched, work on your craft when you got garbage time during the season, only to use what you've learned and worked on when they brought you back in the game in a crucial situation against Georgia in the SEC title game to lead them down to win in that game to get them into the playoffs. All of that to me is what you look for at the quarterback position. So long story short, I see that more from Hendon Hooker than I do from a Will Levis. Then I saw a lot of that from a guy like Sam Howell. So it's not the offense, it's whether or not a guy can supersede pressure of all the three types of pressure that I listed.
So I just wanted just a quick follow-up. So you mentioned Hendon Hooker out of this class and in having the dog, and Will Levis not really necessarily having the dog. Who else, in your opinion, at the quarterback position in this class has that dog in them that you have identified?
Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. I even thought Adrian Martinez moving out of Nebraska, going to Kansas State, was able to showcase that. You like what you saw from Jaron Hall from BYU. This was a guy that was starting before Zach Wilson, and then he gets injured. Zach Wilson takes over and does great things at BYU. Hall comes back and plays well last year, plays well again this year. The thing about him, you just have to wonder, can he stay healthy? So for me, it's a lot of these guys have been battle tested. I know people want to compare Richardson's situation and Levis's situation. As many drops as Richardson's receivers had throughout every game, you never got a clip of Richardson blowing on his receivers on the sideline. You can just tune into a Kentucky game every Saturday and see Will Levis on the sideline just snapping on everybody. But they call that fiery. Well, you never saw that that type of stuff coming from Richardson. Richardson was calm, cool, collected. And, that kind of instills confidence in the guys like, hey, man, I'm going to come back to you. Even though you dropped 17 passes in a row, that 18th one, man, you're going to catch it. And that's the type of guy you need back there at quarterback. They're even kill. And if you have that type of guy, you turn on the Philly game, you don't know if they're up by 20 or down by 20. Jalen Hurts looks the same way. And so you need those type of guys that can lock in and focus in. Burrow has that in spades. Like you can't tell whether they're up or down. You feel like they can come back from any deficit. He's never panicked. So you need those type of attributes, in my opinion, to really thrive at the NFL level.
Yeah, Emory, and I was just going to ask, keeping the theme on quarterbacks, last year we knew that this class, the quarterback class last year was spoke of as weak and, a bad class. First question, how do you kind of rate the overall quarterback position this year in this year's draft? I mean, is it a strong class in your opinion? Is it a mid-class, weak class? Second, where would you rank Sam Howell amongst this class of quarterbacks?
I think this class is very similar to the class in 2017. I had 3 first-round grades on quarterback, 3 high first-round grades, like 90 grades is what I'm talking about. I put together a draft guide every year. And so that year I had Watson, Mahomes, and Deshaun Kaiser as my top 3 with 90 grades, right? This year I got 3 guys in the top 3 with the same grade. Richardson, number 1, Bryce Young, number 2, CJ Stroud, number 3, all have a high grade, 86. So this class still, I think you could win with any one of those 3 guys, right? And then afterwards, as I'm grading in 2017, I had my 4th quarterback wasn't Mitch Trubisky that year. It was actually PJ Walker. So, I look at PJ Walker like, wow, he's better than Trubisky. Matter of fact, Gerard Evans at Virginia Tech beat Trubisky head to head and went toe to toe with Deshaun in the ACC title game. Went toe to toe with Deshaun in the ACC title game. And they lost on a last second drive by Deshaun Watson and company. So for me, I think this class has depth like 2017. Adrian Martinez is pretty good. Jaron Hall, Hendon Hooker. I'm a big fan of Lindsey Scott Jr. out of Incarnate Word. He's a shorter quarterback, but he can throw the heck out of the football. Just won the FCS equivalent to the Heisman Trophy.
Hey, Emory, what school was that?
Incarnate Word down in San Antonio, Texas.
They had a hell of a playoff too.
He threw 60 touchdown passes this year and ran for another 10. So yeah, he could put the ball in the paint. But when you look at Sam Howell,
never heard that school in my life. You digging deep. So
that's not deep you go, man. Listen, if it's football, I cover it from soup to nuts. So and we're joking, but that's why my perspective is different, because I've seen a lot of different types of guys and different types of offenses and defenses. But Sam Howell would probably rank around, 7, QB 7 in this class.
So
He's
he'd
not
be a 5th-round pick again, probably, in your opinion?
well. I've never been big on where guys end up because I had a 1st-round grade on Russell Wilson, so I didn't care he went in round 3. I just knew when he got on the field, he was going to ball out, which he did. So for me, because you only get 7 picks, right? If everybody had equal number of picks, and only 32, 31 players can go this year in the 1st round. So it's not about when guys go. Yeah, sometimes you get guys that get a little bit more leeway because they were taken high. And it takes teams time to figure out that this guy can't really play because they took him in the 1st round. So they got to talk themselves into him being good. But I don't care that he went in the 5th round. If he was out there balling, let him go out there and ball. And now it's going to cost you on the back end because if he continues to ball, you're going to have to pay. Like Dallas had to pay with Dak when Dak outperformed his draft status. And like teams had to do with Jacoby, who outperformed his draft status. So it's not about when guys go. Just be happy you got picked. I think Howell's in a great spot with a great OC, great talent around him. And we'll find out this year if he can continue to parlay this opportunity into more opportunities or even a bigger contract.
So, Emory, for Washington, the biggest thing that we're talking about out here is offensive line and cornerback. At 16, what do you think makes the most sense in terms of those two positions? What do you think? Because I'm a big fan of Osiris Torrance. I'm a big fan of Peter Skoransky, but I understand given where they are in this class, they may not make it to 16. I don't know what your opinion is, but what do you think about cornerback, offensive line, interior offensive line, wherever that works at 16? What makes the most sense in your opinion?
Either one makes the most sense, and I would even throw out Bijan Robinson. I mean, to be honest,
that's AJ guy right there.
Washington needs a game breaker at running back. They got good guys. They need a great player to go along with those receivers. Adding a running back like Bijan or Jahmyr Gibbs would be fantastic. But Osiris Torrance is a real good one too. Definitely he's going to open up so many holes on that right side. He is impossible to move up front. And cornerback is great. It just depends on which cornerback is there. If for whatever reason Gonzalez is there, take him. So there's an opportunity for Washington to get what they want. It seems like they have a type, right? They like long athletic guys. Brent out of Kansas State is there. You can take him. I'm a big fan of Darius Rush, more so than Cam Smith out of South Carolina, 2 teammates. I would take Darius Rush, long athletic, former wide receiver, turned cornerback. So he got the ball skills, kind of could go along that Richard Sherman type trajectory. Had a great Senior Bowl, had great tape at South Carolina. So any one of those positions you can't go wrong with because it's a very deep and talented class at the top. So sitting at pick 16, Washington to me is in a catbird seat.
Let me ask one question, AJ. One quick question. So, because you had mentioned running back, and like we had a whole discussion on it last week, Emory, and just generally, you're not scared to take a running back in the 1st round, like that whole theory or that narrative. Matter of fact, tight ends and running backs, like because we have a tight end concern as well. Like they're not getting selected in the first 2 rounds at all, or not that much anymore. Like you get 1 or 2 each season or each draft season. But you're not afraid to take that running back if it makes sense for a team in the 1st round.
People could be dumb and listen to Pro Football Focus if they want to. Here's the thing. If I'm building a team, I want dudes that can put the ball in the end zone and can take the ball away. And I need you're not sitting there in week 7 and watching Bijan Robinson just run up and down the field and be like, dang, if we would just waited and got somebody else in round 4, like you don't care. Nobody cares. Like they just want talent. And here's what people that talk about that don't take running back in the 1st round, nonsense. This is they talk out both sides of their mouth because they'll say, well, you don't want to take a running back high because they're, they don't last long. They're not going to get that second contract. Well, wouldn't it make sense to take them at their highest value coming out of college in the 1st round, get in the 5th year, and then you can decide at the end of that, do you want to extend them or do you just draft another one in the 1st round? And secondly, you don't take any running back in the 1st round. I'm not going to sit there and pass on Barry Sanders just because I can get myself in round 6. No, I'm taking Barry Sanders. I'm taking a guy that does something that's ridiculous. Find me a lot of Bijan Robinsons in this class. Find me a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs in this class. Yes, there's some good backs, but these two are special. So special supposed to go in round one, regardless of position. Michael Mayer would be a good fit for Washington. Dalton Kincaid would be a good fit for Washington. So if I'm in charge of a team and I need a position and there's a great player there, like, oh, they don't take a center in round one. Don't take a guard. Like, give me the best players, regardless. Period.
Yeah,
You worry about your team over there.
And that's what I don't understand about some of these pundits and even some of these teams. Like, they just overthink the process. Like, you're trying to be so analytical that you're missing 5-star players, these blue chips. I mean, you could say there's so many running backs in this draft class, for example, but how many have the traits of a Bijan Robinson or a Jahmyr Gibbs? It's just how you plan on utilizing them. And that's where my question goes for you. At Washington's position of 16, ideally for me, I would like for them to trade back and take one of those guys if it falls suit. Preferably my guy is Jahmyr Gibbs. Because like you said, the whole point is to score points and to have dynamic players. And you add a guy like Gibbs into this running back room, also being able to help a Sam Howell with these routes in the flat, screen game, so much that Eric Bieniemy wants to do and replicate from the Andy Reid West Coast offense. It's a game changer. Like, there's really no value that you can truly put on it. Like, you're not going to find another guy like that in the second, third, fourth, or fifth. Like, you know, it probably looked promising because they got an Isaiah Pacheco in the 7th round. But even his traits, like, to translate speed to power, is very rare. You know why he dropped to 7th? I have no clue.
Because he runs in the back of his lineman all the time. So you got to be willing to put up with that. You know, like, hey man, this dude he's blind as from a vision perspective. Like, because I think people are overrating Pacheco's skill set just because he went in round 7. Because they also want to dump on taking running backs in the 1st round. But man, how many times you gonna run to the back of your lineman each and every game? Like, that's not what we pay you for. But I'm sorry to cut you off, but I had to say that.
Oh, no, you're good. I mean, because I'm an NFL agent, but I haven't spent too much time breaking down some of these guys' tape or whatever. They just were on my radar. So I seen a couple games at Rutgers because I have a friend that actually played for them. But like, I had no clue that he had vision issues at Rutgers. You know what I'm saying?
He's not blind like legally. I'm talking
okay.
Like, from a football perspective.
I'm talking about from a football perspective, not legally. I mean, because the same thing could be said about Antonio Gibson. He has the traits, but he doesn't see lanes well. He doesn't have anticipation when it comes to what's going to open up, what's not. And that's the reason why they went and took Brian Robinson in the 3rd round. They wanted a more natural running back, someone that's been doing it probably since they were a youngster. So at 16, if I gave you the option of Bijan Robinson or Jahmyr Gibbs, and you know the pieces that Washington has with this offense, whether it be Brissett or Howard at quarterback, Terry McLaurin, Jahad Dotson, Curtis Samuel, no tight end, and this offensive line situation, who would you preferably go with if they went with a running back at 16?
Gibbs is my number 1 back. You know, Gibbs to me has that Marshall Faulk type capability. You know, he is someone that can really score from anywhere on the field. It's funny because I was at the combine and then you are surprised that this guy checked in at 5'9", 199. So someone could, if you would have told me prior to that, like, oh, he's 5'11", 215, that checks out. He looks spotted, you know. So the fact that he was doing what he was doing at 2 different Power 5 programs at 5'9", 199, which again, I'm not worried about that because guys lose weight for the combine. So he can, like, you come back from lunch at 205. So what? You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm not worried about the weight. This dude has the ability to make you miss. He's explosive in all directions and has that ability to really get from 0 to 60. He is legitimately a home run waiting to happen in the backfield. So if I had the choice between 2, it would be Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, here's the thing. People may hear that and say, oh, well, he doesn't like Bijan. If you look at my running back grades from 2020 to 2023, Bijan would be 3rd, you know, out behind Gibbs and DeAndre Swift. So I have a really high appreciation for what Bijan was able to do. I even throw another position out there that Washington could, even though they just picked one a couple years ago. I would be hard pressed to not take Deion Henley as well. He reminds me a lot of Fred Warner. So, but I know nobody wants to see Washington take another inside backer because of what they did a couple years ago. But Henley is someone that really did a fantastic job at Washington State. He can cover, he can turn the ball over. He's just an excellent football player. But so I'm saying all that to say, at 16, Washington really can do anything they want to.
I got one more question for you, boss, and I appreciate your time with this. This is with whichever round, any name that comes to mind. But what are some of the under the radar prospects that you think aren't getting the recognition that they deserve? Who are those prospects that you have your eyes on?
Well, keeping it specifically for Washington, and you look at the defensive backfield, you look at Isaiah Bolden out of Jackson State. Tremendous talent, 6'2", 203, former Florida State Seminole. He played every position in the secondary for Jackson State. But down at the NFLPA Bowl, he was playing exclusively corner. And you saw his ability to really lock up and man up, great in press, has the athleticism. He's already going to be a core special team because of what he does as a returner, both kickoff and punt returner. So big fan of that. And then also same HBCU prospect in Isaiah. Isaac. Oh man, not his name. I've been saying his name all. What you call it?
I got you. 2 seconds. What's the school? I can
Alabama State. He's a corner. He's tall, 6'2", 188. Oh man, it slips my mind. I've been talking to this dude up the whole process, but he was another one that was at the NFLPA Bowl. Came in, held his own.
Keenan Isaac.
So he 6'2", 188. He can put on a couple of pounds. You go and watch his game against Auburn last year. Did a great job in that ball game. Great NFLPA Bowl, great HBCU Legacy Bowl. You can probably get him later in the 7th round, probably as a priority free agent. You already have some experience in that with Danny Johnson on the roster, who was a man-child down there at the Senior Bowl, but also at Southern during his career. So I see those guys as bigger corners, longer corners that can press, that can cover, that have ball skills. Those some sleepers that are specific for Washington. And Lakeland Pitts, Lackland Pitts, the tight end from William and Mary, fantastic inline blocker, great hands, aggressive route runner. He does everything in a violent manner, from how he throws defensive ends around in the blocking game and the run game, and how he gets off physical coverage in the passing game. So he is someone that played really well for Mike London down there at William and Mary.
Jerry, any last question for Emory before we yeah, go ahead.
I actually did have a question for Emory, and he was talking about, untalked about cornerbacks, and I wanted to ask him about a guy that I love, and I always talked about him. I watched him on Last Chance U, but what do you think about Rajon Wright out of Oregon State? That's one of my guys at cornerback.
Big guy, love the physicality. For whatever reason, Oregon State has produced in the last couple of seasons some physical corners. Their safety this year is really good as well, physical guy. So I like the fact that he's not afraid to press. I think he can play either the field side or the boundary side. I know in the NFL it's all in the middle of the field, so there's no field or boundary. But what I'm saying is he can get on your number one wide receiver and hold his own. He can also get out there and follow around a Z or a flanker and chase that guy all over the field because he has good athleticism. So I like him. I think he's another one of these guys that's not being talked about enough at the position.
Emory, man, I want to give you the floor to plug anything and everything that you got going on. We appreciate you joining us. The floor is yours, boss man.
Well, we put together a draft guide, the largest draft guide in existence, over 1,000 individual scouting reports. Now, it's not a situation where we have 300 scouting reports and list the rest of the guys. No, every person in this draft guide has a scouting report, full page scouting report. So over 1,060 scouting reports to be exact. So whether guys get drafted, undrafted, end up in the XFL, USFL, transient during preseason and training camp, we probably will have a scouting report on this player or any prospect. So you can order that at footballgameplan.com/2023 draft guide. Last year we put out the largest in history, over 1,000. Well, we can't say we put out the largest in history again because we just beat ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So footballgameplan.com/2023 draft guide, the best draft guide out there, period.
Period, man. There it is. Emory, man, stay safe. Enjoy your week. Enjoy the draft, the rest of the draft process. And appreciate you joining us, boss man.
Appreciate you guys for having me on.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
There we go. Emory Hunt. Let's go ahead and so we got mock draft next. Hold on 1 second. Boom. There we go. Emory, you good to go? We got mock draft next and prospect spotlight. Fellas, I was thinking of ways that we can kind of spice it up for like as we continue to go on to the next ones, right? I know what did we use last time? We used PFN, so we said don't use PFN.
AJ had one. I don't know which one he had. He had some, end all be all one.
Draft network. Is it the draft? Yeah, the draft network mock draft. Pull this one up. What is this? Mock draft beta testing is currently underway. What does that mean? Man, this is I don't know what I'm doing. Bro, the fuck is this? I just want a mock draft, bro. I'm about to go back to what I know.
Yeah.
Oh, PFF. I was at Draft Network.
Oh, PFF does one? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they got one. Okay. So we have Washington set up here. So I was thinking maybe we do like this week maybe we do one with no trades, like we stick at 16. Or maybe this week we collectively pick 16 together based on what the board presents us, like some way where we can kind of mix it up a little bit, add some flavor to the mock draft. Or maybe we're forced to accept a trade, like, and that's kind of how we do it this week. Like we have to take one trade, or I don't know. What are y'all thinking? Like, do y'all want to do a regular one? Do y'all want to do one where we're the GM and the head coach and we're collaborating? How do y'all want to do this? What are y'all thinking?
For this week, let's do the collaboration. And then when the draft time comes around, we can do we are the GM here and this is the end all be all.
Okay.
And what we're doing at 16, we'll say that for the draft day, we'll do what we're doing at 16 that day. Because that's what we're, assuming we're picking at 16.
Okay, so the last one is staying at 16. This one we could do our collaboration. Okay, cool.
Yes.
All right, cool. So let's go. Hey, AJ, you here? Just to make sure he's straight before we get started.
He did just send us a message. He said he has a call right now. Yeah. So
okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and roll with us too. Hopefully everything's straight with AJ. All right, let's go and see when we get started and share my screen so everybody that's watching live can follow along. Share screen. We ain't sharing the entire screen. God damn it. Okay. Boom. And there we go. All right. So we're going to go ahead and start and enter the draft. We're going to do one round. To hell with all that simulation. What does it say? Consensus board. Oh, no. All right. One round. And let's enter. Wait, what we doing?
Subscribe. We got to pay.
Yeah, what the hell are we doing? Bro, PFN, bro.
See, they want some money. Yeah, they
I don't know what's going on right. We're doing PFN. Going back to PFN, man. Normal, let's draft. This is crazy. Let's do select the team. We got Washington. Now we draft. Okay. All right, boom. So now we see it. We're going to go ahead and roll them off for everybody that's listening. Number one off the board is CJ Stroud, quarterback, Ohio State, on the way to Carolina. Next up, we have, all right, let's go ahead and close all these.
Wow. They're giving us Dalvin Cook.
They gave a player? That's crazy.
Yeah, they're giving us Dalvin Cook at pick 23.
And then this one is crazier. Okay. Close this. Let me go ahead. All right. So let's go ahead and run through the list of players that have been off the board. Bryce Young is Houston. Number 2, Will Anderson. Number 3, Arizona. Number 4, Anthony Richardson, Indianapolis. Tyree Wilson, edge rusher to Seattle. cornerback Christian Gonzalez to Detroit, Paris Johnson to the Las Vegas Raiders, Broderick Jones to the Atlanta Falcons, Miles Murphy to Houston Texans, Jalen Carter off the board, number 10 to Philadelphia, Devin Witherspoon, cornerback, number 11 to Arizona. They have two top 11 picks. That's going to be that's real good. Okay. Jordan Addison, number 12 to Chicago Bears, Peter Skoronski off the board, number 13 in New York Jets, Cam Smith to the New England Patriots, Will Levis to Kentucky, and now we are up Dre. So before we look at our trade offers, which we have a couple, we have some players on the board right now. You just heard Emory speak. He said that Bijan is there. He taking them, no questions. I didn't see another running back off the board, so that sounds like the boy is there. I'm looking for him now. Jahmyr Gibbs, number 35 at Alabama, he is there. So right now we have Bijan on the board, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Brian Branch. I don't know why I listed the wide receiver, but Bijan Robinson, Brian Branch, Luke Van Ness, Joey Porter Jr., we have Keelan Ringo, Deontay Banks, Dalton Kincaid on the board, Michael Meyer, Darnell Wright, Anton Harrison. And obviously, like we said, Jahmyr Gibbs is on the board. Darnell Washington is on the board, but ain't nobody in their right mind is taking Darnell at 16. At that type of tight end, we ain't taking him. So, Dre, we got the players on the board, right? What are you thinking at 16? Are you even sniffing around at those trade offers, or are you thinking like, I like what I got on the board, and I don't want to look at these trade offers because then I'm gonna be tempted to pass up on something elite.
I mean, the Dalvin offer is very tempting, but the only thing that worries me about Dalvin is he's starting to get up there in the running back age where you don't want to see running backs get to, because you know that fall off is coming at some point. But it's intriguing because they give you pick 23, and I don't feel like the gap between pick 16 and 23 is that big in this draft. Like, you can probably get a guy at 23 that you would have got at 16 that you like in this draft, like a Joey Porter Jr. or something. So like that's really enticing, but I would have to look at Dalvin's money. But I don't know Dalvin's money right now. So
Dalvin Cook is 27 right now, and he turns 28 in August. He's making Dalvin contract. Dalvin Cook. All right, there we go. Dalvin Cook's contract, he signed a 5-year, $63 million deal. When did that happen? It must have happened in 2020. But there's an out this year, actually. Might not think about it.
So that's
he has a $3 million dead cap after this season. So right now it's $8 million. If you accept it, his dead cap is $8 million. So obviously you're not going to cut him during the season at all whatsoever. You traded for him. But 2024, you got a $3 million dead cap. So you can really get rid of him after one season if things don't work out, technically speaking. So that's what his contract situation looks like. 5 years, $63 million deal, $3 million dead cap after 2023.
And that makes that more enticing because as we keep talking about Bijan Robinson, like, oh, you got to take that guy. Dalvin Cook's done what you want Bijan Robinson to do at this level. And plus, you're still keeping a first-round pick. So you're getting like that Bijan Robinson type of production, but you're also keeping a first-round pick. So, I mean, it's very enticing.
Monty says, take that trade. Does anybody else in the chat say take that trade? I should have been said this. If you are looking on Twitter, we appreciate you watching, but we don't see comments through Periscope. We don't have, like, StreamYard doesn't allow that for whatever reason. So, if you're on Twitter, if you're on Twitch and Twitch and YouTube, make sure you get your comments in through that route, not Twitter. So my thing is, though, they're giving up Dalvin, so they got to be going for running back, I'd imagine. Does that mean that they go for Bijan or do they go for the other guy, for Jahmyr? But secondly, if we trade back to 23, who we're going to be interested in then? Like, do we think that the cornerbacks are still going to be there, like the top cornerbacks that we're thinking about? Or do we even think that the running backs are still going to be there? At least one of them. Because at that point, I'm thinking tight end if I move back.
I mean, and that's an option. And that's the thing. Like, if you move back in this draft, because, I mean, we keep fixating on two positions. We keep going back and forth with, cornerback and the offensive line. I mean, obviously, you can't draft an offensive lineman right there at 16 because none of those guys seem like they fit at that spot. But you go back to 23, then your options open up to a plethora of them, but the thing is, I guess, like I said, what you're missing if you move back is you're missing the Bijan Robinson. You're potentially missing the Joey Porter Jr., who I love in this draft, guys like that. But then there's still guys like Ringo, Deontay Banks. He's still available, who are cornerback in this draft. They might last to 23 in this draft. So you can go a lot of ways. Trading down in this draft, I mean, I'm not opposed to it at all because, like I said, where Washington is picking is an ugly spot in this draft. And I feel like with the needs that they have, you can probably get some of those guys when you move back in this draft, as well as, attain assets.
I think Denver lost their damn mind. So for those who are listening, Denver offered us pick 67, pick 68. Now, in theory, that ain't bad, but that's the end of the second round, if my math is right. But 67, pick 68, pick 108, Cameron Sutton in the 2024 third round pick for pick 16. 5 overall assets, 4 draft picks and 1 player for pick 16. That is a lot for 1 pick. Do we think that we can survive a no first rounder this year?
But that's not a second rounder either, is it?
Pick 67.
Yeah, that's a third rounder. So it's like they will leave us high and dry without a second or first.
Here you go. I told you my math. If my math is right, it was clearly wrong. So you're talking about you're moving out of first. You still get your second, but now you have 2/3. No, that's not. I don't like this one. We can reject this? Cole, I'm asking. I'm asking. Should we reject this? I mean, Cameron Sutton is.
I personally reject it. I mean, because you got to give me at least a second or something to start talking that conversation.
Okay, so we're rejecting the Broncos offer. Now we have Minnesota pick 23, Dalvin Cook. They're moving up to pick 16. To be honest with you, coming up Dalvin and having Bijan and Bijan, 2 B-Robs, Brian Robinson and Dalvin along with Antonio Gibson for at least 1 season, that don't sound too bad. Because if you was gonna take Bijan at 16, you was gonna have 3 good running backs or 3 decent running backs altogether. So I don't mind the idea of Dalvin. I am gonna have to think about a restructure if he comes along, because that's a lot of money. I don't know. Do we want to take the risk and see who's gonna be there at 23? I'm willing to do it.
The only reason I'm a little hesitant on it is because I still feel like Dalvin, I love Dalvin. He went to Florida State, my favorite, college football team. But I just get this fear that he could just be hitting that hill, the wrong side of that hill for running backs. And then you basically only did a 7-pick swap in which Minnesota would have easily won because they got off of Dalvin Cook's contract. And they also moved up 7 picks. Yeah. So, I mean, for this to be sweeter for me, they would have to throw in like a 4th round pick or something. And they don't. So I'm going to have to say no on this pick.
I'm with you. Like I said, I was willing to do it, but you actually convinced me as well. The age thing is one thing. Another thing that I should have thought about as well is like you get 5 years with Bijan or 5 years with Jameer, and they're also coming straight into the league from college, so they're at 23, 22, as opposed to 28 when the season starts. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and hit reject, and we're going to go with who we have on the board. We don't have any more trade offers. So we have Bijan, Brian Branch, Van Ness, Joey Porter Jr., Deontay Banks, Dalton Kincaid, Michael Mayer, Darnell Wright, Anton Harrison, and Jahmyr Gibbs on the board. Who are we thinking about? What's going on, Rich? Appreciate you checking in. Cole said no to Denver trade, so we are out of that. There were no more trade offers. We only had 2. Monty said take the risk. We declined it. Me and for those who are just tuning in, me and Dre are working as a team.
Well, AJ's here now.
AJ's here now. Yeah. Well, he missed out on the trade offers. Yeah, so now he's gonna have to help us pick. He's gonna have to help us pick these. Pick who we got on the board.
You did just one big joint, so y'all declined trade offers.
Yeah, we doing a collab today, and then the next podcast we're gonna do our own thing.
So right. I say with this on the board, damn, bro. I'm
leaning Joey Porter Jr. personally.
I'm giving Sam Howell every single opportunity to have no excuse possible to be successful, to not be successful. So
I mean, I'm taking. I know who I want, but
Jameer Gibbs.
I'm willing to. I'm cool with Bijan or Jameer, but if we're talking about running back, I don't think you can go wrong with either. So I'm willing to do. I'm okay with Jameer if we go running back.
I'm cool with Jameer Gibbs, bro. Like,
chat, where we at? What are y'all thinking? So me and AJ on the side of running back. Dre is on the side of, you said Joey Porter Jr., right?
Yeah,
cornerback.
So here's the thing with Jameer Gibbs. Now, if I want Jameer Gibbs badly, I mean, I'm definitely trading down. Like, I mean, at least to where Minnesota was. I mean, you wouldn't take a Dalvin Cook if you wanted Jameer Gibbs, but I'm trading down somewhere in that range if I want Jameer Gibbs. I don't know if I'm pulling the trigger on Jameer at 16.
Where is the issue with that? Go down a little bit. Chargers are what, 20th pick?
Chargers 21st.
No, 21st. So I feel like you run a high risk of losing Jameer Gibbs between 18, the pick 18, 19, and 21. Like that's my issue. And I feel like if you got a guy like that that's dynamic on the board, you can't allow teams to possibly move up to go get that guy. Like that's the dangerous game about the draft. It's like you could trade back, but you also have to be prepared if this team takes your pick. So
yeah,
I don't know. For me, of course, people would be like, "Oh my God, you took a running back at 16." Like, I mean, like we just had our guests on. Like at the end of the day, the objective is to get playmakers, and especially on the offensive side of the ball, score points. And I feel like he's just such a weapon, especially on the NFL level, that you just can't teach what he brings to the table, what he did at Alabama, and even if you look at what he did at Georgia Tech, which has no offensive line. They don't have a quarterback. Like, you know that they running the ball. Like, he was killing in the run game, passing game, and he was also a big-time threat at kick return. And you know this team needs some kick return.
He's like J.D. McKissick on steroids. That's the way I like to describe Jameer Gibbs. Like, I love Jameer Gibbs' game, but I think you can get him in the 20s. I do think you can get him somewhere in the 20s for sure.
So maybe
what happened with the trade offers?
Well, we declined them. We
declined them. We had Denver gave us 4 draft picks and a cornerback, but their draft picks weren't until the 3rd round. And we were giving them pick 16, and Minnesota offered us Dalvin Cook and their 23rd pick for the 16th, and we turned that one down. That's all we had. Fellas, I say my opinion. Well, I think I'm. See, that's the thing. Like, running back is secondary, but it's kind of crazy how I got caught up in the, like, Emory convinced me, right? Like, it makes so much sense. And I also think, like, is the cornerback with the best, like, some of the best ball skills? Is that Joey Porter Jr.? Does he have some of the best? I'm asking because I haven't even watched this game, like, in completeness. Like, I don't really know. But does he have some ball skills at all? Like, can he turn the ball over?
Joey Porter, not really.
He's not.
Best. Go ahead.
What's the kid out of Mississippi State? He's not him when it comes to, like, the ball skills.
Forbes.
Yeah, he's not that kid. But I mean, he's a physical cornerback, and he's going to make you think twice about going his way in games. I mean, he's going to make your best wide receiver upset because he's going to try to get in his head. He's going to play him physical. You know, he can switch between man and zone. I mean, Joey Porter Jr., I think he's a versatile cornerback, and I do think he's going to be a top level cornerback at the next level.
Okay. And the only way you take.
Here's the thing with running back. This the question I gotta ask. How much better are you right now today if you go out and get a Gibbs I mean, granted, I would love to have either one of those guys, Gibbs or Bijan Robinson, but how much better are the Commanders if they take those guys? Because I still look at teams like, the Giants with Saquon Barkley and, running backs by themselves don't necessarily win games in this era, in the modern day era. So I'm just wondering how much better do they make us today at the running back position? We got playmakers. We do have playmakers. I mean, but I'm never upset with too many playmakers.
Hey,
However, with that first round pick,
we got a 4-3 running back, and that man ain't break a run over 40 yards in 3 years.
Hold on, say that again.
We got a 4-3 running back, and that man ain't break a 40-yard run over 3 years, bro.
Shoot, has he even ran for more than 25 yards?
I think so. He's gotten a 70-yarder. Like, people would love to bring that up, but I don't count goddamn screen pass.
Oh no,
I'm about to say I don't count no. Yeah, I don't count no goddamn
screen pass.
Yeah.
Like,
he ain't breaking no run.
Me and you could do that if we got a wide open field.
Yeah, well, I can try. I can try.
I gas out of 25 yards.
Yeah, all right. They gonna hawk my ass, bro.
See that's the problem with this fan base. Like, you want them to take offensive lineman or cornerback so bad, but not looking at the player. People are just saying just pick one. Like it doesn't make sense to me, and that's what really throws me off about this whole draft process, especially with fans. Is like you're just saying just pick one just because. Hey, I think we need one that bad. And it's like certain guys just don't fit. Like Joey Porter.
Oh, Osiris Torrance is on the board.
Far down. Like, you get him in the second round.
Jody Porter is gonna come into the league and have a lot of penalties on him because he grabs a lot. He's very grabby. Like he does not trust his technique at all.
Hey, your boy Ben St. Just grabby, but I like him.
Yeah, he grabby too, but you see where there's issues with the ball skills. You feel me?
Yeah.
Like he's in position, but he's not in position. He doesn't know how to necessarily make those plays because he's a bit too grabby and he just doesn't have like the natural ball skills like a Emmanuel Forbes. Like, and that's not to say that he's a shutdown corner by any means. In my opinion, he's more risk reward type corner. He reminds me of Marcus Peters. Like
your boy D'Angelo Hall. D'Angelo Hall was a ball hawk. I love D'Angelo.
He's a ball hawk, but I feel like D-Hall had
give
more.
And a give.
Yeah, like it's like if you take that type of guy, you got to be prepared for what comes with it.
Yeah, you do. But like I said, I like those type of corners, AJ. I do. I love the ball hawks. I love D'Angelo Hall.
This team needs a ball hawk in corner because like. Before Defoe was making those plays, they were not getting any takeaways.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Like we was coming on going off about takeaways.
So let's go ahead. We gotta make a pick because I'm sure our 15 minutes have passed, including the time we had before AJ got on. So let's go ahead and make a pick and be definitive. What's a realistic option where we can all compromise together? Like. I think I can imagine this is what the shit looks like in a real, like going back and forth about these players. For Washington, I'm gonna just say this: I didn't even realize Osiris Torrance was still on the board. It's weird that he's at 49. I'm an interior guy. I'm all for having Osiris on the team. But if I had to say my 1, 2, 3, my 1 is gonna be Osiris. My 2 would be Bijan. And my 3 is Joey Porter Jr. And that's kind of where I'm at. Do we have anything where it's like it makes sense for Washington where we can compromise our favorite position? I'm willing to give up offensive linemen to go cornerback. Can we? Where are we at? Can we do some compromising here at pick 16 because we're not trading? We're staying at 16.
So for me, I'll go first. My top 3 for 16 is Joey Porter Jr. 1. I mean, of this group that's available, Bijan Robinson and Dalton Kincaid. That's my top 3.
Okay, Joey's up there. And then you said Bijan, right?
Yeah, Bijan and Dalton.
Okay, and then Dalton.
That's my 3.
AJ, where are you at? Can we do any compromising? Do we have a compromise in your list?
Damn, my list don't consist of anybody Dre just mentioned, so I guess it's hard to compromise. But it would be Jahmyr Gibbs 1, Bijan Robinson 2, and then Brian Branch 3.
So we both got Bijan Robinson. We all had Bijan.
Oh yeah, I guess you.
Okay.
I like
Bijan
Branch too, though.
Okay, so yeah. I guess we say we close our eyes, rejoice with a bottle of champagne, and we all settle with Bijan Robinson, one of our top all on our top 3 player list of the top 3 for 16. So we're gonna go ahead and select Bijan Robinson.
Before we go on that note, if we end up selecting Bijan Robinson, granted, this wouldn't be my first decision, but look at this pick like we're playing with house money. Imagine this: Ron just made a pick. Ron might get fired next year. The next coach comes in, you got a whole new slate, but this next new coach comes in with Bijan Robinson. Hey, that's the way you sell that to the fan base. I mean, Ron can't sell it like that, but we can. We can sell it to the fan base like that.
All right, so let's go ahead and select.
Man, hey, Richard Wilson, you might be dead come first round of the draft, my boy. He said if we take a running back first round, I'm dead.
That's where you draw the line, Richard.
I'm just saying.
He said, "Why are we even talking about running back first round, bro?" Hey, this was fun. This was fun. Oh man! All right, so we end up selecting Bijan Robinson after all that discussion. Good. Okay, cool. So, fellas, I'm gonna have to make a promise that we double up next week on our spotlights. I know I got the all 32 side of the Trapper Dive, so we got to get that rolling. I'm already late. But we're going to double up next week with our mock draft again. We'll find the theme for next week. I think we did say we're going to do our individual thing, but I don't know how we're going to play it yet. If we're going to do trade, we have to accept the trade, or we have to. I don't know. We're going to figure that out. We're going to talk it out in the group chat so we can have an idea going into it. But we'll double up on our
rounds next time. Maul. We can do 3 rounds.
3.
We did 3 rounds last time, so we can do 3 rounds this time.
All right, player.
We got 3 picks.
3 rounds, bro. Say we've setting this on there. 3 rounds, then, man.
Hey.
All right, so we're going to do a 3-round mock next week. And we're gonna have 2 prospects for our player spotlights and double up that way. So, fellas, y'all be safe, man. We're gonna lock in this week. When is? You know what? Oh no, that's not this week. XFL clinched the playoff berth, and I'm thinking I could have sworn it's a playoff game. It's coming up soon, but I don't think their season ended. Not yet.
Yeah, I watched the game yesterday. They played against, what was it, Seattle? I mean, I'm actually intrigued, man. I saw Philip Lindsay out there playing for Seattle in the XFL. I said, wow, yeah, he was. It was.
I know he got picked up.
It was his first game. He scored a touchdown too. So I was like, okay, that's
I know DJ
in the XFL.
Yeah, Sperringer got picked up by the defenders. So
yeah,
I don't know if
that too. Yeah.
Oh, he played.
So, I mean, but my question with this XFL, and I always ask this question: what is the ultimate goal? Is it to just become an alternate league to the NFL, or are they, the goal is maybe we can one day be number 1? But I don't think that it will ever happen. So I mean, I think they have to just say, "Hey, I want to just be an alternate league." And
I think the goal as an owner is to get bought out by the NFL and become their developmental league, and they run it without having the NFL,
like the NBA and G League.
Yeah, they essentially. I feel like that's the only way it could really be an investment that has return, is to run it, be operational enough to the point where the NFL comes in and says, "Hey, this would be our developmental league, and we're going to do a partnership." But outside of that, I don't get the point of it.
It's just spring ball. I mean, it makes sense. You put the tape out there for your boys, for yourself, and try to find your way back into the NFL. It's
but
actually interesting what the USFL is up to too.
You also playing ball in March and April and May, and then having to turn around and
it's a grind, bro. You're not wrong though, but it's a grind.
But for the developmental league to work, they're gonna have to coincide their league or their season schedule with the NFL. Like they're gonna have to play games on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or Tuesdays and Wednesdays or something like that. So just in case an injury happens, I'm calling this guy from the defenders, right? He could come play on Sunday. So,
that's something it's challenging. Like the CFL still exists as well. So
yep.
All right. We out of here, man. Everybody who's just checking in, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to rate, review, or follow the podcast if you are not following. But that's gonna wrap it up for us on this episode. We got a couple more guests on the way. Can't wait for those episodes to drop. Looking forward to that. To catch up and talk ball with some more analysts around the NFL and around the draft as well. So we out of here. Y'all be safe. Enjoy y'all night. Enjoy y'all day. Enjoy y'all week. Whenever you listen to all that good stuff. Peace. Yeah, boom. Oh, cancel. There we go.
And